The crystal chandeliers of Lumiere, Beverly Hills' most exclusive restaurant, cast golden light across tables where deals worth millions were sealed over champagne. But tonight, something darker was brewing. Scarlett Hayes adjusted her white apron, her auburn hair catching the light as she moved between tables. At 27, she'd worked here for 3 years, long enough to recognize trouble when she saw it. And Preston Blackwell? He was trouble in a $10,000 suit. The 31-year-old tech billionaire sat at table 7, flanked by 4 business associates. His platinum blonde hair was styled perfectly. His watch cost more than Scarlett's annual salary. And his eyes, cold, calculating. The eyes of someone who'd never heard the word no. Scarlett approached with their wine order. "Gentlemen, your 2005 Chateau Margaux. You're late." Preston didn't look up from his phone. "I ordered this 12 minutes ago. I apologize, sir." The sommelier was, "I don't pay $300 for excuses." His voice sliced through the ambient music. Nearby tables glanced over. "I pay for competence." "Something you clearly lack." Scarlett's jaw tightened. But she needed this job. Her mother's medical bills weren't going to pay themselves. "I understand your frustration, Mr. Blackwell. Let me pour." "Did I say you could touch the bottle?" The room seemed to hold its breath. Preston finally looked up, his ice blue eyes scanning her with disdain. "You know what your problem is? People like you think showing up is enough. That mediocrity deserves a participation trophy." He turned to his companions. "This is what's wrong with America. No standards. No excellence, just entitled waitresses who can't even deliver a bottle on time." One of his associates shifted uncomfortably. The others stayed silent. Scarlett set the bottle down carefully. Her hand didn't shake, not yet. "Will there be anything else, sir?" "Yes, learn to do your job. Or find a new one." He waved her away like she was an insect. "You're dismissed." She walked back to the service station, her face burning. Around her, 50 pairs of eyes looked away quickly. The other servers whispered. The maitre d' pretended not to notice, but Scarlett noticed something else. Preston's leather portfolio sat at the edge of his table, and inside that portfolio, she'd seen it when she set down the wine, a contract, signatures, numbers with lots of zeros, and she recognized one of the names. Tech Venture Capital acquiring Novasoft, a deal that wouldn't be public until tomorrow morning. Her hands moved to her pocket, fingers closing around her phone. 3 years of serving the wealthy had taught her something valuable. Rich people always underestimated the help. They talked about mergers, affairs, illegal deals, all while servers moved invisibly around them. Preston Blackwell had just made the biggest mistake of his life. He'd insulted the wrong waitress. Because Scarlett Hayes wasn't just any server. She was a Columbia graduate who'd lost her finance job during the market crash. She understood contracts, acquisitions, securities law, and what she'd glimpsed in that portfolio? It was insider trading, clear as day, a deal that wouldn't be public until tomorrow morning. But Preston was already positioning himself to profit. Preston had just shown his cards to someone who knew how to play the game. Scarlett pulled out her phone. Her finger hovered over a contact name, Garrett Mitchell, SEC investigator. They'd dated briefly in college. He'd told her once, "If you ever see something that doesn't look right, anything involving securities fraud, you call me." No matter how small. This wasn't small, but she hesitated. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about justice. About every server who'd been humiliated. Every worker dismissed as mediocre. Every person Preston Blackwell had stepped on while climbing to the top. The question wasn't whether she'd make the call. The question was, how far was she willing to go? Scarlett stepped into the restaurant's back hallway, her heart pounding. Through the porthole window in the kitchen door, she could see Preston laughing with his associates, celebrating, probably congratulating himself on another brilliant deal. He had no idea what was coming. She pulled up Garrett's number. Her thumb hovered over the call button. 3 years ago, Garrett had said, "Sometimes the universe puts you exactly where you need to be. You just have to be ready to act when the moment comes." Was this her moment? Her phone buzzed. A text from Devon, the senior server. "Table 7 wants you back. Blackwell specifically asked for you." Of course he did. Men like Preston couldn't resist twisting the knife. Scarlett took a breath, smoothed her apron, and made a decision that would change everything. She didn't call Garrett, not yet. Instead, she opened her phone's recording app and slipped it into her apron pocket. If Preston wanted to humiliate her again, he'd do it on camera this time. Ah, there she is. Preston's voice boomed across the dining room. He'd had 3 glasses of wine now. His inhibitions were dissolving. My favorite incompetent waitress. Come here. Scarlett approached the table. How can I help you, Mr. Blackwell? You can start by explaining why our appetizers are taking so long. He leaned back in his chair, gesturing with his wine glass. Actually, let me guess. You probably can't count past 10, so you forgot our order entirely. His associates looked mortified. One woman, his attorney, based on the documents spread before her, touched his arm. Preston, maybe we should what? Pretend she's doing a good job? He locked eyes with Scarlett. Tell me something. What made you think you were qualified to work at a restaurant like this? Did you lie on your application? The dining room had gone completely silent. Scarlett felt the phone recording everything, but she needed more. More evidence of his character. More proof of who Preston Blackwell really was when he thought he was untouchable. I graduated from Columbia, Mr. Blackwell. Her voice was steady, clear. With honors. Finance and economics, Preston blinked. Then he laughed. Columbia? And you're serving me wine? He turned to the table. This is perfect. Another millennial who got a fancy degree and learned absolutely nothing useful. What happened, sweetheart? Couldn't handle the real world? The real world happened, sir. Market crash, layoffs, medical bills. Ah, there it is. Preston snapped his fingers. The victim story. Let me guess. You think society owes you something because you had bad luck? I don't think anyone owes me anything. Good, because they don't. He took another drink. You want to know the difference between people like you and people like me? I didn't wait for opportunities. I created them. Built my company from nothing while people like you were crying about fairness and equity. His attorney tried again. Preston, this really isn't what? True? His voice rose. Every eye in Lumiere was on them now. I'm tired of pretending we're all equal. We're not. Some people have what it takes, others. He gestured dismissively at Scarlett. Others serve wine. And there it was. The moment Scarlett had been waiting for. Preston Blackwell had just revealed exactly who he was. Not just to her, but to an entire restaurant full of Los Angeles elite. Politicians, judges, journalists, all watching. All listening, but Scarlett wasn't done yet. You're absolutely right, Mr. Blackwell. She smiled. Some people build companies. Others recognize illegal insider trading when they see it. The color drained from Preston's face. What did you just say? The silence that followed Scarlett's words was absolute. 50 pairs of eyes locked onto table 7, where Preston Blackwell sat frozen, his wine glass suspended halfway to his lips. What did you just say to me? Preston's voice was low, dangerous. Scarlett didn't flinch. I said some people recognize illegal insider trading when they see it. Your portfolio was open when I served your wine. Preston's jaw clenched. His associates exchanged panicked glances. The attorney's face went white. You're making a serious accusation. Preston set down his glass. Do you know what happens to people who slander me? I have lawyers who destroy careers, lives. I'm sure you do. Scarlett's voice remained steady. Tech venture capital acquiring Novasoft. The deal goes public tomorrow morning, but you're already positioned to profit. That's textbook insider trading. A collective gasp rippled through the dining room. Several guests pulled out phones. A journalist 3 tables over typed furiously. Preston stood abruptly, towering over Scarlett. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're a waitress, a failed finance professional who couldn't cut it. I cut it fine for 3 years at Goldman Sachs. Scarlett didn't step back, until the market crashed. But I still know how to read a contract, Mr. Blackwell. I still know the difference between legal and illegal. Preston, we need to leave. Now. His attorney gathered documents frantically. I'm not going anywhere. Preston's face flushed. This nobody doesn't get to accuse me of anything. I've built an empire, created thousands of jobs, revolutionized entire industries. And you've done it by stepping on people like me. Scarlett's voice carried across the room. By breaking laws you think don't apply to you. By treating human beings like they're disposable. Phone cameras flashed. Someone was recording video, Preston noticed. His eyes darted around, finally registering that everyone was watching. The mayor sat 2 tables away. Federal judge dined by the window. Jennifer Hartley, LA Times. A journalist called out, standing. Mr. Blackwell, can you confirm or deny these allegations? I don't have to confirm anything. Preston's control fractured. This is a setup. She's trying to extort me. Extort you? Scarlett almost laughed. I haven't asked for anything. I stated a fact. You left your portfolio open. I saw the documents. And now, she pulled her phone from her apron. I have a recording of everything you said tonight. Every insult. Every admission. The attorney grabbed Preston's arm. Do not say another word. We're leaving, but Preston shook her off. You think you're clever? I own this city. I have connections you can't imagine. One phone call and you'll never work in California again. Maybe. Scarlett met his eyes. But you'll still be guilty. And all these people heard you confirm it. Preston's mouth opened, closed. He had no response, because Scarlett was right. He hadn't denied it. He'd threatened her instead. In a room full of lawyers, politicians, and journalists, that was as good as a confession. Get away from me. Preston shoved past the maitre d', stumbling. He grabbed his jacket, leaving his associate scrambling. Mr. Blackwell? Scarlett's voice stopped him. You forgot something. She held up his portfolio. Preston's face went purple. He lunged for it, but Scarlett handed it to Devin, who passed it to another server. Give me that. Preston roared. Sir, please lower your voice. The maitre d's professionalism cracked. I don't care. Preston was unraveling. The mask shattered completely. Scarlett pulled out her phone. Garrett? Scarlett Hayes. Remember what you told me about seeing something that doesn't look right? I need you at Lumiere in Beverly Hills right now. I have evidence of securities fraud. Major evidence. And 50 witnesses. Preston Blackwell's world had just ended. Preston made another grab for his portfolio, but Devin had moved it behind the maitre d's desk. 2 servers blocked his path. You can't do this. That's my property. It's evidence, Scarlett corrected. And it stays there until the SEC arrives. Jennifer Hartley was on her phone, calling her editor. Other guests were texting, posting. Within minutes, the scene would be trending nationwide. Preston's attorney grabbed his arm. Stop talking. Stop moving. You're making this worse. But Preston couldn't stop. Do you know who I am? I'm worth $3 billion. I have senators on speed dial. You think some waitress can destroy me? I don't think I'm destroying you. Scarlett's voice cut through. You're destroying yourself. The room started clapping. Slow, deliberate. Others joined. Within seconds, the entire restaurant applauded. They were applauding Scarlett. Preston looked around wildly. These were his peers, his social circle, and they were turning on him. This can't be happening. It is happening. Scarlett walked closer. You want to know why? Because you chose to humiliate me, to treat me like nothing. You did it publicly, because you thought you were untouchable. I am untouchable, Preston whispered. No, you're not. Scarlett shook her head. You broke the law because you thought you were above it. But there are always consequences. They finally caught up with you. Sirens cut through the night. Garrett Mitchell strode through the entrance. SEC badge displayed, flanked by 2 investigators. Scarlett Hayes, Garrett. Thank you for coming. You said major securities fraud. He looked at Preston. I'm Garrett Mitchell, SEC. I have questions for you. I'm not answering anything without my lawyer. That's your right. Garrett's voice was professional. But I need to secure any documents related to your business dealings. There's a portfolio. Devin handed it over. Garrett scanned the contents. His jaw tightened. Mr. Blackwell, you need to come with us. Am I under arrest? Not at this moment. But you must cooperate with our investigation. Here or at our offices. Your choice. Preston looked at his attorney, who nodded grimly. We'll cooperate. Excellent. Garrett closed the portfolio. Scarlett, I need your statement. You observed the documents? I did. She held up her phone. And I have a recording of Mr. Blackwell's statements tonight. His behavior. His admissions. We'll need that too. You did the right thing. As the SEC team secured evidence, Preston stood motionless. His associates distanced themselves. His attorney called a criminal defense specialist, and then Preston did something unexpected. He turned to Scarlett. Slowly, he sank to his knees. "Please." The word was barely audible. "Please, I'm sorry." "I'm so sorry." Preston Blackwell was begging. The restaurant held its breath. Scarlett looked down at him. This man who had humiliated her, called her worthless. "I'm not the one who decides your fate, Mr. Blackwell," she said quietly. "The law does. Justice does. And every person whose life you've stepped on does. I'm just the one who finally said enough." She turned to Garrett. "I'm ready to give my statement." As she walked away, Preston remained on his knees, surrounded by the ruins of his empire. The Waitress had won. Garrett Mitchell worked efficiently, his team photographing the portfolio's contents while Preston remained on his knees, head bowed. The mighty Billionaire had crumbled completely. "Mr. Blackwell, you can stand now." Garrett's voice held no sympathy. "We'll continue this downtown." Preston rose slowly, legs shaking. His platinum hair was disheveled, his $10,000 suit wrinkled. The ice-blue eyes that once radiated arrogance now held only desperation. "Garrett, can I make a statement first?" Scarlett's voice was calm. "Of course." "Conference room?" Garrett looked at the maitre d', who led them to a private space. Devon squeezed Scarlett's shoulder as she passed. "You're a hero." Inside, Scarlett sat across from Garrett while another investigator set up recording equipment. For the record, this is Garrett Mitchell, SEC Special Investigator, taking a statement from Scarlett Hayes regarding suspected securities fraud. It's 9:47 p.m. Saturday, October 18th, 2025. Scarlett, describe what you observed tonight. Scarlett took a breath. "I've been a server at Lumiere for 3 years. Tonight, Preston Blackwell was seated at table 7. When I delivered their wine, he became verbally abusive. Describe the abuse. He called me incompetent, mediocre, entitled. Said people like me were what's wrong with America. While serving the wine, I noticed his portfolio was open. Inside were documents. A contract for tech venture capital acquiring NovaSoft." Garrett leaned forward. "And you recognized the significance?" "I have a finance degree from Columbia. Worked 3 years at Goldman Sachs. I understand securities law." Scarlett met his eyes. "The acquisition hasn't been announced. It's scheduled for tomorrow morning. But Preston was positioned to profit. That's insider trading. Did he confirm this?" "He didn't deny it when confronted. He threatened me, said he'd destroy my career. In front of Mayor Richards, Judge Patricia Mendez, and Jennifer Hartley from the LA Times." Scarlett pulled out her phone. "I recorded everything." Garrett's eyes sharpened. "May I have that recording?" "Of course. Password is 4729. For 20 minutes, Garrett listened. Scarlett watched his face, saw the moment he heard Preston's threats, his elitist rants, his implicit confirmation. "This is damning evidence," Garrett said finally. "Combined with the documents and 50 witnesses, we have a solid case. What happens now? We take Preston downtown for formal questioning. We'll subpoena financial records, examine recent trades, contact everyone involved." Garrett paused. "This could take months, but Preston Blackwell will face serious charges." Relief washed over Scarlett, followed by exhaustion. "Scarlett," Garrett's voice softened. "What you did took real courage. Most people would have stayed silent. I couldn't. I've watched people like Preston get away with things for too long. Someone had to stop him." "Well, you did." Garrett stood. "We'll need you downtown tomorrow for an official statement. You might be called to testify." "I'll be there." They walked back to the dining room. Preston sat flanked by investigators, his attorney on the phone. When he saw Scarlett, fear flickered across his face. Jennifer Hartley approached. "Ms. Hayes, can I have a statement for the Times?" Scarlett hesitated, then nodded. Preston Blackwell used his wealth to treat people as disposable. Tonight he learned no one is above the law. "That's all." "Perfect," Jennifer said, scribbling. "This is front page. I don't want to be famous. I just want justice." As the SEC prepared to leave with Preston, the billionaire stood on shaking legs. He looked at Scarlett one last time. "I really am sorry," he said softly. Scarlett didn't respond. Some apologies came too late. Preston was led out through the kitchen exit, leaving through the servants' entrance. As the door closed, the restaurant erupted in applause. Scarlett Hayes, The 27-year-old waitress with auburn hair and a Columbia degree had just taken down one of LA's most powerful men, and her shift wasn't even over yet. 3 months later, Scarlett stood outside the federal courthouse in downtown Los Angeles, adjusting her blazer. The morning sun was warm on her face. "Ready?" Garrett Mitchell stood beside her. "Ready," Scarlett confirmed. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Journalists filled back rows. The front held victims, investors who'd lost money, employees he'd mistreated, partners he'd betrayed. The investigation had uncovered far more than one instance of insider trading, a pattern of fraud spanning 5 years. Preston Blackwell entered in handcuffs, wearing an orange jumpsuit. His platinum hair had lost its shine. 3 months without bail had transformed the arrogant billionaire into something hollow. His attorney had tried for a plea deal. Prosecutors refused. The evidence was too strong. Judge Patricia Mendez, who'd witnessed everything at Lumiere, presided. "Mr. Blackwell, you've been found guilty on 17 counts of securities fraud, insider trading, and market manipulation. Before sentencing, does the defense wish to speak?" Preston's attorney stood. "Your Honor, my client understands the severity of his crimes. He's prepared to make full restitution and has cooperated with investigators." "Cooperated only after being caught," Judge Mendez noted. "Does Mr. Blackwell wish to address the court?" Preston stood slowly. "Your Honor, I made terrible mistakes. I hurt people. I thought I was above the law. I was wrong. I'm sorry." The judge studied him. "Mr. Blackwell, your crimes weren't mistakes. They were calculated decisions made over years. You exploited your position and showed contempt for the law and human decency." She opened a folder. "However, this case is notable for how you were caught. A waitress, someone you dismissed, recognized what you were doing and had the courage to act. Scarlett Hayes, would you stand?" Scarlett rose, feeling every eye turn. "Ms. Hayes, on behalf of this court, I thank you. Your actions protected countless investors. You are exactly what's right with America." The courtroom erupted in applause. Scarlett felt tears but held them back. Judge Mendez gavelled for silence. "Preston Blackwell, I sentence you to 15 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. You're ordered to pay $847 million in restitution. Additionally, you're permanently barred from serving as an officer of any public company." Preston's legs gave out. He collapsed into his chair. As guards led him away, he looked at Scarlett one last time. She met his gaze evenly. No satisfaction. Just the quiet certainty that justice had been served. Outside, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. "Ms. Hayes, how does it feel?" "What's next for you?" Scarlett raised her hand. "I've accepted a position with the SEC as a financial crimes investigator. Garrett Mitchell recommended me." She smiled. "Someone once told me the universe puts you exactly where you need to be. That night at Lumiere, I was exactly where I needed to be. And Preston Blackwell. Preston made choices. Those choices have consequences. I hope other powerful people realize you're not untouchable." "None of us are," Jennifer Hartley pushed forward. "Your mother's cancer treatment, how is she?" Scarlett's smile widened. "In remission. The SEC awarded me a whistleblower payment, 15% of penalties recovered. It covered all her treatments. So something good came from this?" "Everything good came from this," Scarlett corrected. "Justice was served. Victims were compensated. And I learned that standing up for what's right is always worth it." As she walked down the courthouse steps, Devin waited with flowers. Her former Lumiere colleagues had taken the morning off. "So, Special Investigator Hayes," Devin teased. "Too important to serve wine now?" "Never." Scarlett hugged him. "I just traded serving wine for serving justice." 6 months ago, she'd been a waitress struggling to pay bills. Today, she was a federal investigator with power to protect others. The moral was simple. Never underestimate anyone. The server you dismiss today might bring your empire down tomorrow. And Preston Blackwell, in his federal prison cell, would have 15 years to think about that. Scarlett Hayes had won, not just the battle, but the war. 1 year later, Scarlett Hayes walked through the marble corridors of the SEC headquarters in downtown Los Angeles, her heels clicking against the polished floor. The badge on her blazer read, Special Investigator Hayes. A year ago, she'd been serving wine to billionaires who treated her like furniture. Today, she was the person those same billionaires feared most. Scarlett. Garrett Mitchell waved from his office doorway. "Got a minute?" She entered his spacious office. Through the window, downtown LA sprawled beneath a cloudless sky. "I wanted to discuss your progress." Garrett opened a folder. 12 cases investigated. 9 successful prosecutions. 3 pending trials. "You've become our most effective investigator." "I had good training," Scarlett said. "You had good instincts." Garrett leaned back. "The Blackwell case changed everything. Do you know how many whistleblowers have come forward since that night at Lumiere?" "I heard it was significant." 47. 47 people who watched you stand up to Preston and decided they could do the same. Garrett's expression turned serious. "Service workers, assistants, junior employees, people who've been invisible. They're reporting crimes, speaking up against abuse, all because one waitress had the courage to say enough." The weight of those words settled over her. She'd never thought her actions might ripple outward like this. "How's your mother?" Garrett asked. "Cancer-free for 14 months. Scarlett's voice caught. "The doctors are optimistic. The treatments worked, and I can afford the best care now." "That's wonderful." Garrett paused. "Have you heard about Preston?" Scarlett tensed. "What about him?" "He's been a model prisoner. Teaching financial literacy to other inmates. Started a program about predatory lending." Garrett pulled up an article. "The New York Times did a profile. He's trying to make amends." "Good for him," Scarlett said flatly. "He wrote you a letter." Garrett pulled an envelope from his desk. "It arrived last week. I had it screened. Whether you read it is up to you." Scarlett stared at the envelope. Her name written in neat handwriting. "Curiosity 1. I'll take it." Back in her office, Scarlett opened the letter. "Dear Ms. Hayes, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But every day for the past year, I've thought about what I did to you. Not just the crimes that put me here, but how I treated you as a human being. I was raised to believe success meant dominating others. That wealth proved superiority. That people who served me were somehow less. I was wrong about all of it. You taught me that everyone matters. That intelligence and worth aren't measured by bank accounts. That the person pouring your wine might be smarter, braver, and more ethical than you'll ever be. I'm trying to be better. I teach classes on financial responsibility. I help inmates prepare for release. I've donated everything left after restitution to organizations helping working-class families access education. Your courage changed me. You didn't just stop a criminal. You saved a man from himself." With deepest respect, Preston Blackwell Scarlett read it twice, then folded it and placed it in her desk drawer. She didn't forgive him. Not yet, maybe not ever. But she believed people could change. Her phone buzzed. A text from Devon. "Dinner at Lumiere tonight. Chef wants to cook for his favorite investigator." Scarlett smiled. She hadn't been back since that night. "I'll be there at 8, she typed. That evening, as she walked through Lumiere's entrance in an elegant dress, every employee stopped and applauded. The maître d' bowed. The sommelier presented her with Chateau Margaux. "On the house," he said. "Always." Scarlett sat at table 7, Preston's old table, and Devon joined her. "Look at you," he said proudly. "From serving billionaires to investigating them. I'm still the same person." "No," he shook his head. "You're the person you were always meant to be." As they ate and laughed, Scarlett realized something profound. That terrible night hadn't broken her. It had forged her into something stronger. She'd turned pain into purpose. 3 years later, Scarlett Hayes stood at the podium in a packed SEC conference room. At 30 years old, she'd just been promoted to Senior Director of Financial Crimes. Reporters filled the seats, cameras rolling. "Today marks a significant milestone," Scarlett began. "Over the past 3 years, our whistleblower program has resulted in 127 successful prosecutions. We've recovered $4.2 billion in illegal profits and protected countless investors." A reporter raised her hand. "Ms. Hayes, many credit you with revolutionizing the SEC's approach to financial crimes. How does that feel?" "It feels like we're finally listening to the people who've been trying to tell us the truth all along," Scarlett replied. "The assistants, the service workers, the junior employees who see everything but are rarely heard. We've made it safer for them to come forward." "Do you still think about the Preston Blackwell case?" "Every day," Scarlett's expression was thoughtful. That night taught me something crucial. Power imbalances enable crime. When people fear retaliation more than they value justice, corruption thrives. We're working to change that. Another reporter. Blackwell is eligible for parole next year. How do you feel about that? The justice system will make that determination. My job is to ensure what he did never happens again. After the press conference, Garrett pulled her aside. There's something you should know. Preston's parole hearing is scheduled for next month. They've asked if you'd be willing to provide a statement. Scarlett's stomach tightened. What kind of statement? Character assessment. Impact testimony. Whatever you're comfortable with. Garrett studied her face. You don't have to do anything. I'll think about it. That night, alone in her apartment overlooking the city, Scarlett pulled out Preston's letter from 3 years ago. She'd read it dozens of times, searching for sincerity, finding it each time. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Ms. Hayes? This is Sarah Chen, Preston Blackwell's parole attorney. I know this is unexpected, but Mr. Blackwell would like to speak with you. A phone call supervised and recorded? He has something he wants to say before the hearing. Scarlett's heart raced. When? Tomorrow afternoon, if you're willing. She should say no. Should maintain professional distance. But curiosity and perhaps something else made her agree. The next day, sitting in a secure SEC conference room with Garrett present, Scarlett picked up the phone connected to the federal prison. Hello? Preston's voice was different. Quieter, humbler, Mr. Blackwell. Thank you for taking my call. I know you didn't have to. He paused. I'm not calling to ask for anything. I just wanted to tell you something before the hearing. You saved my life that night at Lumiere. I reported a crime. You did more than that. You held up a mirror and forced me to see who I'd become. A monster in an expensive suit. His voice cracked slightly. I've spent 3 years thinking about the man I was. The people I hurt. Not just you, hundreds of people over the years. Employees I fired for sport. Competitors I crushed. People I treated like obstacles. Scarlett listened, her emotions complicated. I don't expect you to speak at my hearing, Preston continued. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know that the man who insulted you at table 7 doesn't exist anymore. You destroyed him, and I'm grateful. What will you do if you're released? Scarlett asked. Keep teaching. Keep trying to help people avoid the mistakes I made. Live simply. Make amends where I can, he took a breath. I'll never have back what I lost. My company, my fortune, my reputation, but I've gained something more valuable. My humanity. After the call ended, Garrett looked at her. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about justice, Scarlett said slowly. About what it means. Is it punishment? Rehabilitation, both? What does your gut tell you? Scarlett thought about the terrified waitress she'd been, the powerful investigator she'd become, and the broken billionaire who'd learned the hardest lesson of all. My gut tells me people can change, she said finally, but actions have to match words. The parole hearing was 3 weeks away, and Scarlett Hayes had a decision to make. The parole hearing room was smaller than Scarlett expected. Fluorescent lights replaced Lumiere's chandeliers, gray walls instead of crystal elegance. Scarlett sat in the observer section, Garrett beside her. Preston Blackwell entered in prison clothing, a far cry from his $10,000 suits. His platinum hair was shorter, streaked with gray. He looked older, smaller, human. Their eyes met briefly. Preston nodded respectfully, then looked away. The parole board consisted of 5 people who'd heard thousands of cases. They looked tired but attentive. Mr. Blackwell, the chairwoman began, you've served 3 years and 4 months of your 15-year sentence. Tell us why we should grant early parole. Preston stood. I don't know if you should. His voice was humble. I committed serious crimes. I hurt people, not just financially but emotionally. I treated human beings as disposable. I believed wealth made me superior. He paused. Prison gave me accountability. Time to think about every person I'd stepped on, every employee I'd fired for sport, every server I'd treated like furniture. Scarlett felt her chest tighten. I've spent 3 years teaching financial literacy to inmates, Preston continued, helping them understand predatory lending, investment scams. I've corresponded with 23 former victims, offering amends, I've donated everything left to scholarship funds for working-class students. The chairwoman looked up. What caused this transformation? Preston's eyes found Scarlett. A waitress at a restaurant in Beverly Hills. I insulted her. Humiliated her publicly. Called her mediocre, incompetent, worthless. His voice cracked. She was smarter, braver, better than me in every way. She proved it by exposing my crimes. You're referring to Ms. Scarlett Hayes? Yes, she's here today. Preston looked at her. She didn't just stop a criminal. She showed me who I'd become, and gave me a chance to become someone better. Ms. Hayes, the chairwoman said suddenly, you submitted a letter. Would you like to speak? Scarlett stood, feeling everyone's eyes on her. 3 years ago, Preston Blackwell treated me like I was nothing, she began. He humiliated me in front of 50 people, made me feel small, powerless. Preston's head bowed. But he also gave me purpose, Scarlett continued. Watching him face consequences showed me that justice is possible. That powerful people can be held accountable. She took a breath. I'm now a senior director at the SEC. I've helped prosecute over 100 cases of financial fraud. I've inspired 47 whistleblowers to come forward. The room was silent. People can change. I've studied his record. Read letters from people he's helped. I believe his remorse is genuine. Preston looked up, tears in his eyes. But, Scarlett's voice hardened, change requires sustained action, accountability, humility. She turned to Preston. If you're released, you'll carry this forever. The man you were, the people you hurt, that's not punishment, that's responsibility. I understand, Preston said quietly. Good. Scarlett nodded. Then I support your parole. With conditions. Continued community service. Regular reporting. And one more thing. Anything. Use your story. Teach business students about ethical leadership. Show them what happens when ambition becomes cruelty. Be a warning, not an inspiration. I will. I promise. The board deliberated for 20 minutes. When they returned, the chairwoman spoke. Mr. Blackwell, your crimes were serious. However, your rehabilitation appears genuine. Parole is granted, with strict conditions including 5 years supervised release, 2,000 hours community service, and continued counseling. Released in 30 days, Preston's legs nearly gave out. Thank you. As the hearing concluded, Preston approached Scarlett with a guard nearby. I don't expect friendship or forgiveness. But thank you for giving me a chance. Don't thank me, Scarlett replied. Prove me right. Every single day. I will. Outside, reporters swarmed. Ms. Hayes, why did you support his release? Scarlett looked at the cameras. Because justice isn't just about punishment. It's about change, growth, becoming better. Preston Blackwell destroyed his own empire. Now he gets to build something more valuable. Character. As she walked away, Garrett fell into step beside her. That was generous, he said. It was honest, Scarlett corrected. He changed. And if he can change, anyone can. 5 years later, 10 years after that night at Lumiere, Scarlett Hayes stood in her office at SEC headquarters, now executive director of enforcement. At 35, she'd become one of the most influential figures in financial regulation. On her wall hung a framed photograph, the LA Times front page from that night. Waitress exposes billionaire's crimes? Her phone buzzed. A video call from Preston Blackwell, she answered. Preston appeared on screen, standing in a modest classroom. Behind him, a chalkboard read Ethics in Business Guest Lecture. Scarlett, I just wanted to thank you. Again. For what this time? For everything. It's been 5 years since my release. I've fulfilled all parole conditions, taught over 300 lectures, helped establish 4 scholarship programs. He smiled, genuine warmth. Today, Harvard Business School wants me to develop a course on ethical leadership. That's wonderful, Preston. It's because of you. His expression grew serious. You could have destroyed me completely. Instead, you gave me a chance to rebuild. You did that yourself. Maybe, but you showed me it was possible. Preston paused. I'm writing a book. About what happened. About hubris and humility. About how the people we underestimate teach us the most important lessons. Will I be in it? You're the hero of the story, Scarlett. The woman who proved that courage doesn't require power. That sometimes the bravest person in the room is the one everyone else overlooks. After the call, Scarlett turned to her window, looking out over Los Angeles. Somewhere down there, servers were working, assistants sitting in offices, junior employees watching bosses break rules, and some, because of her, would find courage to speak up. Her phone rang. Devon, turn on the news. Channel 7. She switched on the TV. A news anchor spoke. The Scarlett Hayes Whistleblower Protection Act passed the Senate today with overwhelming support, providing unprecedented protections for individuals who report corporate crimes. Inspired by Hayes' courage 10 years ago, they'd named a law after her. A text from her mother. Saw the news. So proud, cancer still clear. Love you. Then Garrett, you changed the world. Congratulations, Director Hayes. That evening, Scarlett returned to Lumiere for the 10-year anniversary. Table 7 had a small plaque, reserved for those who stand up for what's right. Devon had organized a celebration. Former colleagues, SEC investigators, whistleblowers, journalists, they all gathered. Jennifer Hartley gave a toast. 10 years ago, a waitress decided that enough was enough. She didn't know she was starting a revolution. She just knew what was right, glasses raised. To Scarlett Hayes, who proved that power isn't about money or titles. It's about courage, about standing up when everyone else sits down. To Scarlett. As the evening wound down, Scarlett sat alone at table 7, holding a glass of Chateau Margaux, the same wine that started everything. She thought about the terrified waitress she'd been, the powerful director she'd become, and the thousands she'd never meet who'd been inspired by her story. Preston Blackwell had tried to make her feel small. Instead, he'd shown her just how powerful she really was. The billionaire had insulted the waitress, and the waitress had won, not just justice for herself, but for everyone who'd ever been dismissed, overlooked, or underestimated. She'd proven that your worth isn't measured by your bank account or title. It's measured by your courage, your integrity, your refusal to stay silent. Scarlett raised her glass to everyone who'd ever been told they didn't matter. You matter, she whispered. You all matter. And somewhere in the city, people who'd been invisible were finding their voices, because one waitress had found hers. If you enjoyed this story of courage, justice, and redemption, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next powerful story. What did you think of Scarlett's journey? Did Preston deserve a second chance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think.